Yo. Either way, let's not waste any more time here. Let's zoom and drop it on down and find out what this real life kill room is all about.
I would imagine after you hear the ending to today's story that you will most likely go back and watch this all over again because the ending completely changes the story. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do and we upload once or twice every week. So if that's of interest to you, please sneak into the Like Button's house and replace all of the lids of their Tupperware with off-market brands so none of them fit. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's story.
It's the little evil things that are most important. Like
Ever since
the
he was
show?
a child, Mark Twitchell had always dreamed of becoming a big-time Hollywood filmmaker.
Was Dexter based off of a real story? Because that dude kind of looked like Dexter. I haven't seen a lot of Dexter. I've seen a few episodes. Well, my ex-wife was watching like everything, and I was watching it. Absolutely love the part where that guy pops out like, "Surprise, motherfucker!" Like, I love that shit. That's fucking hilarious. Anyways.
But he knew the odds were stacked against him because he lived in Edmonton, Canada, which was not exactly known for being a movie-making hub. Nonetheless, after high school, he enrolled in an Edmonton art college, and in 2000, he graduated, earning his degree in radio and television art. But after college, despite utilizing his training to make several films, none of them generated any buzz beyond his friends and family, and so it seemed like his filmmaking career was turning into a bit of a dud. However, in 2007, Mark had a bit of an unintentional breakthrough. He had been a longtime Star Wars fanatic, and that year he decided, purely as a passion project, he was going to write a script for a prequel to the Star Wars franchise. When he finished it and shared the script with some of his colleagues, they were so impressed with his writing, they said, "Mark, you need to produce this into a movie. This is incredible." And so Mark, who was totally amazed at this unbelievable feedback he was getting, decided, you know what? What the heck? I will produce this movie. And so he began sending his script out to different actors and actresses to see if they might be interested in playing a role. And amazingly, one of the original Star Wars actors, Jeremy Bulloch, who played Boba Fett, he read the script and he was so impressed by it that he agreed to play a role in Mark's film. And so this passion...
Is this the man? Is this the menace that is the reason we got the prequels? Is that the sick son of a bitch who made 1, 2, and 3?
project had quickly turned into Mark's biggest success yet. When the movie was finished, it did well, but it didn't propel Mark into Hollywood stardom.
Sure.
However, it did put him on the map as a bona fide filmmaker, and it showed him that if he just focused on making films about subjects he was already very passionate about, those films would be much more likely to succeed. And so in 2008, so roughly a year after creating the Star Wars fan fiction film, Mark decided to embark on another film project around another passion of his, Dexter. Dexter was a very popular TV show about a fictional serial killer whose name was Dexter. And the way Dexter would kill his victims is he would lure them into these small rooms, which he called kill rooms. And inside of them, basically every surface, the ceiling, the walls, the floor, were all covered in plastic sheeting to catch any of the blood.
Right.
And then he would kill his victims, usually with a knife. And then afterwards, he would dismember them and bag up their body. And he would roll up all this plastic, kind of collecting all the evidence. And then he would dump the plastic and the body into the ocean. Mark was obsessed with the show, and so it inspired him to make his next movie be about a killer too. Except instead of it being fiction like Dexter, he wanted his movie to be at least based on real events. And it just so happened at the time he was thinking about doing this movie, there was this uncaught murderer terrorizing Edmonton, and so Mark decided the Edmonton killer would be his star.
Oof. Okay. Mark, let me tell you something here. A little too close to home, honey. Honey bunny. Hubby. Brother. Little too close to home. First off, I've been to Edmonton. Awesome place. Really enjoyed it. and there are some just very beautiful places in Canada. So filmmaking there, it's not a horrible idea. Um, Actually, there's a lot of beautiful places in Canada. Um, so if you first off, I thought it was just like, let's get an actual serial killer, and I was just like, and it went. How did it go wrong? Um, I can only imagine that if you're going to do a movie about a serial killer who's right, what one, what do they call Providence, away from you or something, or I don't know where he is or how close it is, but like within the same, like same area ish as you, um, they're probably gonna come after you, man. Like, I don't think you're thinking right now, bro. I don't think you even begin to be thinking right now.
Mark would spend the next several weeks obsessively researching the Edmonton killer and his victims and establishing a clear timeline of what had happened with this case. And then after he felt like he had compiled every piece of information he possibly could, he used that research to concoct a 42-page first draft of his script. And as soon as he was done with that first draft, it somehow got leaked. And when it got leaked, the contents of this script were so shocking and so controversial that the script wound up in the hands of the Edmonton police.
Are they gonna think that he's the killer? It's like all this detailed information. You're now a suspect. Oh shit.
And when they read the script, they immediately recognized they had a big problem. They reached out to Mark and they told him under no circumstances can you turn this script into a movie. And then the police basically wiped this script off the face of the earth. Today, if you go looking for Mark's script online, you'll basically only find heavily censored versions of it. But recently, I got my hands on an uncensored version of this 42-page script. Now, I'm not going to literally read you this script. Right. However, what I'm going to do is use the script's information to tell you Mark's highly controversial Edmonton killer story. As you listen, remember this story is based on actual events. And so the victims' names and the information about them is real. Okay, here we go.
Oh, okay.
In early October 2008, a soft-spoken 26-year-old casino security guard named Giles Tetreault was living alone in Edmonton. Giles's life had recently been turned upside down because a few months earlier, his wife had told him that she just didn't love him anymore and that she was going to leave him. Giles was still very much in love.
How many of my dudes out there know that film, man? Oh my god, man. How he's like, I'm just not feeling the same way about this relationship anymore as I was. It's just the connection's not there. I feel you, fellas. I feel you, fellas. Hang in there. You know what I mean? It's ladies are a crazy ride, man. You'll get there. You just hang in there.
With his wife, and so this was a totally heartbreaking experience for him. After she left, Giles tried to stay busy and keep his mind occupied, but it rarely worked. Oftentimes, he felt crushingly lonely and sad. But on Friday, October...
What you doing out there? Oh, sorry, neighbor's not that. I highly recommend. Not that I know this from experience or anything. I recommend putting that frustration, maybe pent up sorrow, whatever feelings you may have. I recommend working out. Honestly, it's a great way to get out a lot of those feelings and emotions and stuff, and it can fuel you to pump harder, push your body to new limits and stuff. For all you people out there going through it, I recommend it.
October 3rd, when Giles came home from work that afternoon, he suddenly felt like, you know what, I gotta get my life together and I'm gonna start by finding myself a new romantic partner. And so he went on a dating site and he made himself a profile and he began scrolling through all of the women's profiles that lived roughly in his area. And at first, no one really appealed to him, but then he stopped on this one woman's profile. She was this young, blonde, beautiful woman named Sheena, and she lived right in Edmonton. And so Giles thought, what the heck, I'll send her a message. And so so he did, just introducing himself and asking to talk further. And she responded just a couple of minutes later. And then over the next couple of hours, the two exchanged dozens of messages, getting to know each other. And then finally, Sheena just says to Giles, hey, we live so close together. Why don't we get together tonight and go grab dinner and watch a movie together? And Giles is thrilled and he says, yeah, I'll come pick you up. What's your address? And Sheena would tell him, you know what? I don't feel comfortable sharing my address over this dating website. And so instead, she sent Giles this strange customized set of directions that didn't give the actual address of her house. Instead, it basically gave Giles a set of known landmarks in Edmonton that he could follow until he finally arrived at her residence. And she also told him that when he arrived, instead of just coming up to her house, there would be a detached garage and the door would be open and he would go through the garage, out the door into her backyard, and then he would go up the back steps to the back door of her house and she would meet him there. Now,
Nah. Dog, nah, dog. That sounds, at first I thought Giles, very fascinating name, was going to be the killer. But it seems like either Sheena is not Sheena is fuck. I was getting ready to switch it to a male name starting with a SH sound. But all I came up with was female names. Yep. Gonna be either a dude pretending to be a lady and you gonna die, or she's the recruiter and she's sending you to the location of the real killer who's gonna kill you. I have a feeling one of those two are gonna happen, buddy. It was good getting to know you in these few minutes here. Good luck and fight hard.
Giles did think this was a little bit strange, but at the same time he's thinking, I am basically a complete stranger to her. We just met today on the internet, and so I really can't blame her for taking some...
I thought they were talking for a while. Today? So you dead.
Extra safety.
So you dead.
Safety precautions with me. And so he told Sheena he had no issues using her special directions, and then he said he'd be over soon. And so Giles hopped in the shower, he freshened up, he got dressed, he hopped in his truck, and then he began driving to Sheena's house. After about 15 minutes of following these directions, he reached the end of them, and they placed him in this alleyway in a suburban neighborhood. And where he stopped, he looked off to his right, and he saw there was this 2-car garage, and he knew it was Sheena's garage because one of the doors was open like she said it would be, although the door was not open all the way. It was open enough to where he would have to duck to get into the garage, but either way, he knew it was her garage. And so he turns off his truck and he gets out and he tries to look up at Sheena's house behind the garage to see if maybe he can see her looking out the back door, but the detached garage that was right up against the street was kind of blocking his view, and so he thought, okay, whatever, I'll just go in and make my way up to the back steps. And so he walks over to this 2-car garage and he goes to the open side, he ducks down and he goes underneath and he stands up inside of the garage. Now, it was dark inside of the garage, there was no light on, but there was enough light spilling in from the opening of the garage door that he could see there was really nothing in the garage. However, virtually every surface, the walls, the ceiling, the floor, was covered in plastic sheeting. Now, he had no idea what this plastic sheeting was for, and he really didn't care. He just kept walking across the garage towards the door that would lead into Sheena's backyard. And when he reached that door, he reached down to the door handle and he was about to turn it when he felt a blinding pain in the back of his neck. He whipped around, and even though it was dark inside of this garage, he could clearly see this huge man in a black and gold hockey mask standing right in front of him holding a stun baton. Giles tries to run past him to try to get out of the garage, but the man grabs him and then takes his stun baton and drives it into Giles' stomach, and he pulls the trigger. And immediately Giles feels this coursing pain in his torso and he falls to the ground, and then this man in the mask releases the trigger, and Giles tries to scramble up to his feet to try to run out of the garage. But as soon as Giles turns around, he stops where he is because he sees this huge guy in the mask is standing between him and this open garage door, and he's now holding a gun in his hand and he's aiming it right at Giles. And so Giles freezes. He has no idea what's going on, and this man who's got this mask on barks at Giles to get on the ground and put your face on the ground. And so Giles at this point is thinking, I'm going to get killed in here. I have nothing I can do. I'm completely defenseless here. And so he just does what he's told, and he lies down on the plastic sheeting and he's totally terrified. And this man walks over and he puts a piece of duct tape over Giles's eyes. And so as he's laying there blind and terrified, Giles becomes very emotional. He suddenly longs for his ex-wife and for his family and his friends. He wishes he could see them just one more time, and he knows he's not going to. Then, as he's laying there, he's coming to the stark realization that he didn't tell anyone where he was going. And so if this masked maniac does kill him, who's going to find his body? Will his family and friends ever know what happened to him? So as he's laying there thinking of these horrible thoughts, he hears his attacker, who's several feet behind him, start fiddling with what sounds like chains or handcuffs. And Giles thinks to himself, if I get chained up in here, I really am done. And so he has this sudden surge of adrenaline where he thinks to himself, I'm going to get killed in here. I know it. I'm going to get killed. But if I'm going to die, I'm going to die on my terms.
That's what's up, Giles. That's what's up, my man. Like, that's what I was saying, man. Like, I hope you fight hard, bro. Like, I'm pretty sure you're gonna die, but like, if you're gonna die, man, go down blazing. Don't let anyone say you went down like a bitch. Everyone's gonna remember Giles. Giles was fucking beast mode, man. I mean, he was fighting way out of his league. Dude had guns and stun batons, and like, dude was ready to kill. But like, that didn't affect Giles. Giles got up and was like, "Come at me, bitch," and just fucking charged that man. Sure, he got gunned down instantly, but like, he got a couple punches in before he, eventually passed out from blood loss. You know what I mean? Like, let him know that Giles went down like a fucking G. That's what's up, bro.
And so Giles takes a deep breath and then jumps to his feet, rips the tape off of his eyes. He turns around and he faces his attacker and he says, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go out this way. And the attacker is totally surprised, but he...
Okay, Giles, you're new at this, aren't you? To be fair, not a lot of people have practice with this, including myself. So, I can't say I know how I would respond in this situation, but my first thought is, like, take the duct tape off first, quietly, then jump up. Don't announce, like, you know what? I'm fighting thee today. Come at me, heathen. Dude's got a gun. You jump up, you fucking charge the motherfucker and give him everything you got. You don't proclaim anything to the stars. I won't be doing this today, sir. So very Canadian of you. You know what? Nay, I say. You don't treat me like this. I'm leaving. Charge that motherfucker, man. You don't got time to say words. He's got a gun, man. Giles, the fuck wrong with you?
Just begins to raise his gun at Giles to shoot him, and Giles lunges forward and he grabs the barrel of the gun and pushes it away from him. And as soon as he does that, Giles realizes something. The gun is made of plastic. It's fake. And so
Giles, you're lucky, buddy. You're very lucky. I was gonna say, if you can, because it sounds like this guy might be bigger or something. If you can, pull. I don't know what it is. Pull the top back so he can actually shoot you, and then just start fucking hammering fists to his nose. Try to break that nose, pop that nose bone into his brain. Do whatever the fuck you can, man. And go for the nuts. Whatever you gotta do, Giles. It doesn't matter if he's bigger than you. If he takes a broken, shattered nose bone to the brain, it don't fucking matter, man, how big he is. But I think gun's already plastic. That's a good start. That's a really good start for you, buddy.
Giles is suddenly so confident, he grabs the arms of his attacker and he tries to kick the guy in the legs, but the attacker is so much bigger and stronger than Giles that he just headbutts Giles. Giles goes flying to the ground and his attacker jumps on top of him and begins punching him and slamming his skull into the ground. But Giles is so high on adrenaline, he can't feel any of the blows. All he's trying to do this whole time as he's getting pummeled is just find a way to stand up and run out of this garage.
Giles, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt here, buddy. I know this is stereotypes and everything, so I'm sorry to any Canadian viewers potentially watching this. I gotta keep reminding myself you're Canadian. And you're just, sorry, I keep hitting the mic. And you're just, by nature, really nice and polite. Like, Giles, when someone's bigger than you in a fight, don't know you ever been in a fight before, dog. When someone's bigger than you, what do you mean? You grabbed his arms and tried to kick him in the legs. What do you mean, Giles? The fuck do you mean you started leg kicking? Oh, I'll get you. Really? Motherfucker, really? Giles. The first place you didn't go was a knee to the crotch? That's weird, first off. Second off, you didn't start gouging for eye. Like, with this, there's no honor here. This is survival. This is animal time. You didn't start gouging eyes, breaking, trying to punch his nose into his fucking skull. Like none of that. You went, let me hold you back while I kick you. Is that, you did that? And then when he's on top of you, he's like, I'm just trying to get out. No, Giles. No, if he's punching you, he's not holding you back at bay. That means he's getting at least in a position where you can grab him, try to reach up, get a big chunk of his neck with your teeth and rip that shit out, man. This ain't no time for Canadian pleasantries. All right, this is survival mode. Fight like an animal. Get dirty. Claw his fucking face off. Take chunks out of his flesh. Like, start wounding him in ways that you can, even though he's bigger than you. You got teeth. If his hands come down, try to saw a good, carve a big line in his wrist with your teeth or something, man. Like, this is game time. We ain't got time for, can I please go? Like, Giles, we ain't got time for that shit, Giles. The fuck you doing, Giles? I hope he gets away.
Just get out, escape. And amazingly, against all odds, he does manage, in between blows, to wriggle his way out of the attacker's grasp. But as he begins to run towards that opening in the garage door, the attacker grabs him by the jacket. And so Giles twists himself and he actually comes out of the jacket. And then he throws himself onto the ground and he rolls out of the garage. And as soon as he is free...
I was like, they had film of that, but it's like, no, it's a break recreation.
He suddenly
yeah, come on here.
Can't stand up. The stun baton, he didn't feel it before, but it had sapped all of his strength. But the adrenaline had kind of overridden that feeling. But here he is outside and he suddenly can't stand up. And so he's trying to stand up. And then the attacker, who's still inside, dives down, reaches out from underneath the garage and grabs Giles by the ankle and begins trying to pull him back into the garage. And so Giles is kicking and screaming and punching and he finally breaks free. And then
why is your claw in my arm? Why is that the thing you choose to do today? Alright, you know what he wouldn't be able to do? If he was losing energy and blood too, would be to grab you and jump after you if you would take a couple chunks out of his flesh. That's all I'm saying.
has
clawed his eyes out, you know, God fucking start gouging, you know? He wouldn't be able to follow you as quickly.
another surge of adrenaline, and he stands up and just begins running down the alleyway. Doesn't even go to his car. He just starts running towards, hopefully, civilization. And he makes it a couple of houses before he collapses to the ground in this very busy walking trail. And so he's landed right in this intersection where he's hoping someone's going to be. He turns back and looks down the alleyway, and he sees his attacker, who's now on the road. He's got the mask still on his face, and he's charging up the road. Giles can't even get up. He's so tired, but Giles looks to his side and he sees there's this random couple walking down the walking path. They see Giles on the ground who's calling out for help, and they run over to him and they get right in front of Giles, and Giles immediately points at the attacker coming down the alleyway and says, "He's trying to kill me." And the attacker amazingly just jogs right up to Giles, right up to the couple. He does not take his mask off, and he acts like he's friends with Giles and says, "Oh, come on, Frank, you're making a big deal out of it. It's a game. Come back to the garage. I'll meet you there." And then the attacker just turns around and walks back down the alleyway back towards his garage. And so Giles turns and looks up at the couple, who are totally freaked out by this whole situation. They don't know if this is some weird setup that they're going to get robbed or something. They don't know if this is a hoax. And so they say, "Hey, you're on your own, pal." And they turn and they leave. And so Giles is left in the middle of this intersection. The only people that could have helped him are now gone. And so he rolls over and just looks down the alleyway in the direction of the garage. And he can actually see his attacker pacing back and forth inside of the garage because that door is partially open. And so Giles doesn't know what to do. He has to get to his truck to get out of here. And so he just sits there for a couple of seconds, just watching the attacker, making sure he's staying inside of the garage. And then finally, he just took a deep breath. He pulled himself up and he stumbled down the alleyway. He got in his truck, fired it up, and he peeled out of there. When Giles got home, he was obviously traumatized from this horrible thing that had just happened to him, but he also felt embarrassed and kind of ashamed that he had clearly just gotten catfished by the psycho in the garage. Obviously, Sheena, the woman he supposedly was talking to, was not real. It was that guy in the garage that had attacked him, but he didn't really understand why it had happened. He had no idea why anyone would target him, and so the whole situation was just such a mess. He decided, you know what, I'm not going to tell anyone. He didn't report it to the police. He didn't tell his friends. He didn't tell his family. He just decided he was going to move on and forget about it.
Huh. Okay. It's not that embarrassing, bro. Like, that shit happens to, like, tens to probably hundreds of thousands. Maybe not, like, to this degree, but catfishing in general happens to, like, tens to hundreds of thousands of people, like, probably a year, dude. Like, or at least at one point in time. It might have gone down over time, or might have gone up over time, who knows. But, like, it's not that embarrassing, man. Like, that shit happens. Like, I mean, that reminds me, I was around, I don't know if you ever heard this little website called MySpace. I was around when that bad boy dropped, and I got involved in that, and of course there was news reports all over about, oh, dangers of MySpace and stuff, and my parents were all like, oh, you shouldn't do MySpace, it's dangerous. And I was just like, I'm not gonna meet up with random strangers I don't know. Like, I'm not dumb. You know what I mean? So then when my parents started like listening to the reports, it was just like, oh, I didn't know this person, but it was like, hey, let's go hang out, and so I did. And they're like, oh, never mind, these people are fucking stupid. And it's like, I'm not gonna meet up with anyone. I don't fucking know, trust these motherfuckers. And it's like, I don't remember what year this was, but like, home dude sounded like he was older. I don't remember what age said he was, if he did or not. But like, by this point in your life, if you're on a date, even if you're just on a dating website, it's just like, oh, people just want to fall in love and have romance or fuck or whatever they do on dating sites. Like, nothing bad could happen. Like, if someone's like, okay, what I need you to do is sneak into this garage, go underneath the garage and go to the other side. There would be a backdoor entrance to a place. Knock on it 3 times, say the secret passcode. Like, bruh. Like, what the fuck do you mean you went? You know what I mean? Like, I can understand, maybe not with that, saying that sentence, I can understand why you're embarrassed, because you dumb. And I get that, but like, bruh, how are you going to save other dumb people from falling for the same thing if you don't do something about it, you know? You gotta suck up your pride, tell someone.
A week later, on October 8th, another Edmonton man, 38-year-old Johnny Altinger, was perusing the dating website that Giles had been using. Johnny made a living doing quality control for an oil and gas company, but he hated that job. He
This
much
guy looks
preferred to
desperate.
spend his time tinkering with his computers or his prized motorcycle. Johnny had lots of very close friends, but romance was always something that had eluded him. So that afternoon, Johnny, like Giles, was on this dating website to potentially find a romantic partner. And so as he was scrolling through all of these different women's profiles that lived roughly in his area, he wasn't interested in any of them until he stopped on this one profile of this beautiful young blonde woman named Jen, who lived right in Edmonton. And so
How boring and unattractive looking are the rest of these ladies that they're all getting skipped over for this psychopath killer? Like, what? Every single story is like, they were all boring. Like, how boring do they gotta be that someone who looked like that? Not saying you like the fuggliest mug I've ever seen, but like, you definitely look like you've you spent your time computer programming and stuff. Like haven't seen much of the light of day or a lady before. Kind of, you got that little bit of that look on you. Sorry to be so blunt, which is my bad. But like, how bad looking are these other ladies that even that guy who seems like he could be pretty fucking desperate is just like, nah, they're all boring. Like, is there just do they really like blondes and then just ain't enough blondes around? So he sees that one blonde, he's like, blonde. Like, what's going on with these other ladies? Like,
Johnny was interested. He sent her a message, and very quickly she wrote back, and before long the two are chumming it up, and then eventually they actually agree to get together that night for dinner and a movie. But when Johnny asked Jen for her address, she would tell him that she's a paranoid person and she doesn't want to give him her actual address over this website, and so instead she gave him a set of very strange directions that were...
All right, let's see what we got here. You're coming from south. Best thing to do is use white mud. That's cool. To get to 50th Street and go south, then you go right on 40th Ave. After a couple blocks, turn right again at a yellow cross. This is way too convoluted. Side into the alley. Some guy parks his RV there, so pay attention. Once you do that, just go left and park in the only driveway on your left that looks like a forest. LOL. What did I say? Fixer-upper. Yeah. Not paved. There's a couch and some other garbage I haven't had time to call the city about yet. I'll just leave the garage door partly open for you to sneak through. Just make sure you push the button at the regular door to close the big door. I have a friend coming over to use part of it as a workshop this weekend, so he blanketed off where my car usually goes. Like I need red spray paint on my car, right? Don't ask. I mean, very convincing of the amount of detail, but still, like, not someone you just met, dude. This is fishy for someone you just met. I'm going to be out and about today because my girlfriend just called me and got me into hanging out with her, but you and I can get together at 7. I'll be back by then. Sound good?
Relied on local landmarks in Edmonton to guide him into her residence, and she would tell Johnny, when you get here, go through the garage, the door will be open, go out the back door, go into the backyard, make your way up to the back of the house, and I will meet you at the back door. And so Johnny definitely thought these directions were very strange, but he was really eager to meet up with Jen, and so he really didn't care. And so he told Jen it was no big deal, he'd happily follow her directions, and then he hopped in the shower and he got himself together, and then before he left to go to Jen's house, he forwarded Jen's email that included her very strange directions. He sent those directions to one of his very close friends.
This dude's smart, man. I don't remember what he said he did, but this dude definitely had the look of I do brain work, not muscle work. You know what I mean? Oops, sorry. So yeah. Yeah, smart dude.
And he kind of jokingly included a message that was like, hey, if I go missing tonight, this is where I'm going. And then
I've done that before. uh, I was in a different state than where I usually live. I won't give any names because there's no reason for you to know where. But also I don't want to insult this place. But I was, it was somewhere in the West Hemisphere of the U.S. We'll put it that way. I was in the state. We were visiting a friend and whatnot, and I gotta tell you, I don't see a lot of like really rundown places besides the place I'm living currently. But I haven't seen like a lot of really rundown places in my time. Yeah, I haven't seen some like of the greatest looking neighborhoods, but like none that are just like straight up rundown ghetto, anything like that. This place that I went to was such a culture shock. Like it was such horrible white trash poverty, just disgusting looking place. That I was just like, I told everybody that I sent this to like good 4 or 5 friends. I was just like, hey, if I go missing, this is probably where you can find my body, somewhere in this town in this state. Like I've had to do that myself. There's some places out there, some situations where it's just like you should all do that. It's a really good idea to be like, hey, if I go missing, this is the last person I was with, and or this was my last known location, to help people out. If you don't hear, says something like you don't hear back from me like tomorrow or something, like call the cops.
Johnny hopped in his car and he left. The directions brought Johnny to the same garage in the same alleyway that Giles had been to a week earlier. And when
Josh,
Johnny came to a stop in front of Jen's 2-car garage with one of the doors partially open, he saw there were lights still on inside of the garage and he saw someone walking around inside. And so Johnny looked at his watch and he realized he was maybe 15 or 20 minutes too early. And so he parks his car and he's thinking, okay, Jen might be inside of this garage and I'm early, but maybe I'll just walk over and say hi to her. I'm sure she wouldn't mind. And so Johnny turns off his car, he gets out, and he starts walking over to this half-open garage door. And as he gets closer and closer, the lights in the garage go off. And so Johnny stops and he's thinking, why are the lights off? Did she hear me? Does she not want me to come in? What's going on?
This dude seems smart. I like it. So first off, this killer seems a little scrub-like. I'm gonna be honest with you. A fake gun? Like, I know we're in Canada. And again, people are a little too nice, even they're serial killers. But like a fake gun, first off, why not a real gun? And I mean, I think tasers would be more effective than a stun baton. I don't know. It didn't seem like the stun baton. Well, it did stab a strength, so I guess the stun baton did do its job pretty well. I think taser is a little bit better at incapacitating people, but I don't know. I've never used either, so I wouldn't know. What was I saying? So I mean that's first mistake of this dude. Fake gun. What the fuck? Secondly, driving with guns in Canada is illegal, but owning guns I don't think is illegal. I don't know, but it depends on the province and whatnot. Secondly, if you're still setting up before everything's ready, open the garage door after everything's set up. Not before. Just, don't want to give serial killer tips or anything, but like, you suck at this.
But he's thinking, okay, well, I should definitely go over and say something. And so he walks over to this open garage door and he bends down and he looks inside and it's totally dark. And he just says, hello? And there's a pause, and then the lights come on, and Johnny suddenly sees this garage that's basically devoid of anything, minus a table off to the side, and every surface is covered in plastic sheeting. The floors, the walls, the ceiling, everything. And in the back of the garage is not Jen. Instead, it's this man he doesn't recognize. And so Johnny's looking at this man, and this man is looking over at Johnny, and finally the man speaks and says, hi, I'm Harry. I'm a designer. I rent this garage out from Jen. And I just talked to Jen, and you're meeting up with her tonight, right? You're meeting up with Jen, yeah. She's running late, so I think she'll be back in about maybe 20 minutes. So can you come back in 20 minutes? Come right back here, come to the garage, and I'll bring you up to the house because I.
Don't fall for me. I mean, credit to this dude. He's trying. The serial killer, he's trying, but like, bruh, like, that's the most phony, fishy sounding lie I think I've heard in a long time, man. Like, that's like, if that doesn't get red flags going in this person's head, be like, yeah, oh, yeah, I'll definitely come back in 20 minutes, and drive the fuck away, then like, that's on him at this point.
know you're meeting her up at the house, so 20 minutes. And so Johnny doesn't really know what to make of this. He figures, okay, I don't really know what Jen's arrangement is with this designer in this plastic covered garage, but whatever. And so Johnny says, okay, no problem. I'll come back in 20 minutes. And so Johnny turns around and he walks back to his car and he leaves and drives around for about 20 minutes. And then he comes back to the garage. And as soon as he parks, he notices right away the light in the garage is now off. So presumably Harry has actually left. And so he will not be available to walk Johnny up to the house to meet Jen. But Johnny was thinking, I don't really want to interact with Harry. He seems like a strange guy anyways. And so he counts this as a win. And so Johnny parks his car, he hops out, he walks over to
John. Can I call you John? Johnny boy. Like, I don't know if there's a lot of people in certain areas of Canada to interact with. But like, I don't know how some people feel about this term, but it amuses me. To say it bluntly, it kind of might bother some people, but it just amuses me to put it this way. Like, bro, like, you in first off, you in Canada, prostitution is legal in Canada. Throwing that one out there. If you're really that desperate, if you really want to get some pussy that bad, prostitution's legal in Canada. Second off, like, you can't be that desperate for pussy, can you, man? Like, is that what this is? You see a stranger acting odd in a completely tarped up area that was not mentioned in the directions, from a dude acting very sus as fuck, AF as the kids would say, and you're gonna crawl back through there now with all the lights off after you turn the lights off and then back on again. Like, there's no way you that desperate for pussy, right? There's absolutely no fucking way, right? Johnny, man, it's not that hard. And also, if you really are that desperate, bro, you can pay for it in Canada, though. Like, maybe you just take the L on this one and walk away, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't tell me you go under the garage, son. Okay, let's continue. I'm very disappointed with these men in this video.
The garage, he bends down and goes inside of the garage. He stands up and he walks across the plastic lined floor to the door that's going to lead out into Jen's backyard. But before he reaches that door, something smashes into the back of his head. And immediately Johnny is horribly
Dude learned from last time. He ditched the stun gun and went with blunt trauma. Smart. Very smart.
and he instinctively throws his hands up to protect his head, and he begins spinning around trying to figure out who or what had just hit him. And as soon as he turns around, he sees in the shadows is the figure of none other than the man he saw before, Harry. And Harry is holding a big metal pipe. And immediately when Johnny sees him, he begins screaming, "Police, police, police!" And Harry just whines.
I mean, if your name really is Harry, I'll just call you Harry because that is the pseudonym we know you as at the moment. Harry, these people are unsuspecting of you being behind them, both with stun weapons and now a big lead pipe. How are you not one-shotting these people? Like, I'm glad that you're not. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that you suck at killing people because I don't want these people to die. But, like, the whole point of you waiting for them to get to the door is that you can get up behind them, give them one good bash, and they're done. Do you want to keep them conscious during the event? Is that the whole purpose of your plan? I'm sure you could try to get some kind of, like, I don't know, some kind of liquid you can inject or something that will cause paralysis, but like keep them awake or something, if that's like really your plan for this. Otherwise, how are you not one-tapping these people? Like, guys, if you're gonna be a serial killer, don't suck at life. Like, seriously. Actually, no, do suck at life so that you don't actually end up killing people. That actually is probably the better message there. I'm glad this person sucks at life, but I'm just really disappointed at how someone could be so bad when you set up something to make it so easy for yourself. Like, this dude really just sucks at life. He can't even do serial killing right. The fuck's wrong with you, man?
Up and wails on Johnny with this metal pipe. And Johnny's trying to turn around and get away from Harry, but Harry just keeps moving around him and beating him with this pipe until finally Johnny collapses on the ground, but he's not unconscious. And so Johnny is kind of shielding his head and he's looking up at Harry, who's now just standing over him. He's ceased his initial barrage. And Johnny begins pleading with Harry, I'll give you money, I'll give you anything, just please let me go. And so Harry smiles and he says, you promise you won't tell anyone if I let you go? But before Johnny could answer this, Harry winds up with his pipe and he brings it crashing down on Johnny's face. But amazingly, this does not knock Johnny unconscious. Instead, Johnny grabs the pipe after it hits him in the head and he holds onto it to prevent Harry from hitting him again. And so at this point, Harry is frustrated that Johnny is still putting up this huge fight. And so with one hand holding onto this pipe that Johnny has the other end of, Harry reaches down with his other hand and he unsheaths a hunting knife. And he holds the blade right in front of Johnny's face. And as soon as Johnny sees this knife, his eyes go wide and he lets go of the pipe and he begins to plead for his life. But Harry just smiles and continues to show him the blade.
Might even be a fake knife. Homie. Start scurrying, bruh. Start scurrying out that door. And book. Why you just taking it, man? Why you going slow like, don't hit me, man? Come on, man.
And then at some point, he grabs Johnny's shoulder, he pulls the knife back, and he plunges it into Johnny's stomach.
Oh,
Johnny
nice.
howls out in pain, and he curls over, and he begins screaming for the police, screaming for someone to help him. And then finally, Harry pulls the knife out of his stomach, and then plunges it into the side of Johnny's neck. And then Harry lets go of the knife, and he stands up, and he just watches Johnny as he bleeds out onto the plastic lining.
Dude, this person is... Maybe that's the point that he's looking for, but he's really bad at killing people.
As Harry watched Johnny die, he had this pang of regret. He thought to himself, why didn't I play more mind games with him before I killed him?
So, okay, that's why he sucks, because he wants it to last longer.
I'll do that with the next one. After Johnny died, Harry would dismember and bag up Johnny's body, and then he would roll up all of the plastic from the walls and the ceiling. He'd gather that all up, and then a couple of days later, he would dump both Johnny's body parts and all of the plastic containing all of the evidence down a nearby sewer drain. At this point in the story, Mark's script just kind of comes to an abrupt end. We don't know what Harry did after getting rid of Johnny's body and the evidence because Mark just didn't write it. It was like he didn't finish the script. And there's a reason for that, and it's the same reason the police stepped in and stopped Mark from making this.
It's Mark, isn't it? He did say, Mr. V did say something about the ending. As I was saying to him, it's like, man, you got all this detailed information. It's gonna seem like you're the person doing it. Oh wait. O.J. Simpson, if I had done it. You're like, come on, man. Really? You gotta out yourself like that?
script into a movie. At the time they read his script, the police had already figured out who owned the garage where Giles and Johnny were attacked. Johnny's friend, the one who Johnny had forwarded Jen's email that had those strange directions, well, that friend gave those directions to the police once Johnny had been reported missing. And so the police followed these strange directions to this garage, and they discovered it was not owned by some young, beautiful blonde named Jen or Sheena. It was not owned by some designer named Harry. It was owned by a young, up-and-coming filmmaker named Mark Twitchell. But to this point, Mark had been extremely cooperative with police and allowed them to search it, and they found nothing. And he explained to them he was not remotely the only person with access to this garage, not by a long shot. But when police searched Mark's laptop, they found a hidden document, and this document was his 42-page script. And when they read it, they saw there was a huge issue. Giles, the first victim of the Edmonton killer, had eventually gotten over his embarrassment and shame, and he went to the Edmonton
Good job, Giles.
police, and he told them in detail what happened to him inside of that garage. But Giles was so scared he had not told anybody else what had happened. The only people who knew were himself and the Edmonton police. Yet somehow in Mark's script,
no loose ends. There's no other people who could have known.
the account of what happened to Giles was exactly correct. Every little detail of what happened to Giles was encompassed inside of the script. And the reason Mark had this information is because Mark was in the garage when Giles got attacked.
So this might make sense why he sucks at this. Because he was obsessed with Dexter and he's like, oh, I want to do that. But he's not actually a killer himself. And he didn't take after Dexter's message of like killing bad people. He's just like, well, anyone will do. Mark, you fucking psycho.
Because Mark was the Edmonton killer. Mark had been so desperate to make his killer in his new movie as good as Dexter in the TV show that Mark decided he needed to literally become Dexter.
Right, but follow his message at least. Like, find other murderers, rapists, pedophiles, kill them. Like, don't just like, anyone will do. Like, come on, man. They do look very similar, by the way. That's what I was saying. I thought it might inspire, but instead, it inspired Dexter, but instead, Dexter inspired him.
In real life, he needed to know exactly what it felt like to lure an unsuspecting victim into a kill room and murder them so that he'd be able to more accurately write about it in his script. He believed this would put his movie over the top. It would be the most authentic killer movie ever, and it would be his ticket to Hollywood. And so after Mark used a fake dating profile to trap and then attack Giles, after that experience, he wrote about it, and that became his script. And then when he did the same thing to Johnny and then actually successfully killed and disposed of him, he sat down and wrote about that experience too and tacked it onto the end of the Giles attack. He was literally living his movie and writing the script in real time. The title that Mark gave his script was SK Confessions, which stood for Serial Killer Confessions. And that's exactly what the script was. It was a real confession. And based on the way his script just kind of abruptly ends without any sort of conclusion, it seems fairly obvious that Mark was planning to kill more people and then incorporate those experiences into this script. Ultimately, though, the script that was found by police was used to convict Mark of murder, and he is currently serving life in prison. So that's going to do it, guys. If you got something out of today's episode and you haven't done...
Like, I feel like I should have seen that one coming, but I usually like to suspend my spin my assumptions and thoughts, trying to suss it out. Sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do. I probably should have seen that one coming. Just thinking about where did that guy. Well, because Mr. B again lines it up in a really good way of just like, oh, these the accounts of all the information he found out and stuff. It wasn't him. This is just the script he was gonna write, but it was too gory. That's why, But nah. It's because it was him. That's why it wasn't finished. Yeah. No. Okay. Cool. So psychopath. Right. Got it. Um. So that very much explains why he wasn't great at coming up with lies at the top of his head, or just really. I mean, he didn't want to deliver knockout or kills and stuff because I guess he wanted them to feel it and to be terrified and to go through all the emotions and stuff. So they had to be conscious for that. So I guess that makes sense. But it's just like, fake gun, bro? Really? Fake gun? But then he switched it with a real knife. It was a smart upgrade because it got the job done. But like the two men, man, like how desperate you gotta be. Like here's the rule, guys. Here's the rule. If you're ever talking to someone who you have not personally met online or over the phone, in a manner to which you cannot see them, meet them only. And this goes for everybody, male, female, any other gender included. Anybody, no matter your sex and gender. If you have not met them personally yet, do not meet them at a home location. Meet them out in public, broad daylight, surrounded by people. And do not go back with them. Like, it don't matter how thirsty you are, how bad you need some dick or some pussy. It don't fucking matter. Like, until you really get to know the motherfucker, like, first date especially, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. That's dumb. You gonna die. So that's one lesson we can learn from here. Also, the next lesson, it don't matter what region you're from. Even if you're from a place that stereotypically is super polite and nice, when it's life or death, I mean, this might just hear some advice from some Americans who know about doing fucked up shit. Okay, let me tell you how it be. Okay, when it's life or death, there's no politeness. There's no, well, I'll give him a little kick in the shins and maybe he'll just let me go. I'll stand up and heroically pronounce my intentions to the world. Like, there's none of that. Now, I know it's easy to say that from someone who hasn't had to fight for their life. And someone, who hasn't been in that experience, and it's easy to say from the outside when you're not in there with adrenaline pumping and you're not thinking straight and all that. I get that, okay? I understand that, but it's just like, I like to think that I will be prepared enough in that situation. Why? Because I'm paranoid. Because like I'm ready for this shit. Let me give you an example. Also, because I don't really trust people and I don't care for people in general. So that also helps, because I'm already just like, you walk towards me, motherfucker, you dead. It's actually happened today and then like a couple of days ago. I was at the bank, taking some deposits, getting some change and stuff for the place I work at. As I'm going back to my car, I see this youngish looking Mexican dude. Easily between 19, 21, something like that. And I see he's talking to this old dude that was just in the bank before me. And I was just like, okay, it clearly looks like they don't know each other. So this dude's just walking up to him. So I'm started heading over to my car, and I was even thinking in my head, I was like, don't even try walking over to me, bro. Like, don't even fucking try. And lo and behold, this Mexican teenager starts walking up to me. Just like, hey, trying to get my attention and stuff. And I just straight up was like, do not walk towards me. When I have money, it will not end well for you. Dude, turn around and walked away. Now, of course, that could have initiated a give me all your money kind of situation, but I don't play that shit. I don't take any chances. Like, you're not gonna walk up to me when I got my corporation's money in my in my hands, man. Like, it's not gonna fucking happen. All right, just letting you know, if you approach me, I will fuck you up and ask questions later. I'm just gonna let you know right now, and it worked today. And this drove me fucking nuts. I don't know why people do this. It's like people with no fucking social skills, and it makes me mad. It really gets me heated, like, really quick, because especially, again, it's not a great neighborhood. So, I'm working out. I still don't trust any of the motherfuckers around me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm working out on the treadmill. It's a pretty packed day and whatnot, but there's still quite a few spaces left. So I'm working. I'm, like, completely by myself. There's maybe, like, 2 people way at the end of the row, treadmills and stuff. I'm just doing my walking thing. And a dude, probably 50s, comes up and gets on the one literally right next to me. He's got 2 open spots next to him, to my left. And I made a specific purpose to exaggerate look down the line of just like 8 or 10 empty ones to my right. It's just like, it's like, really, bro? Like, you gotta be right next to me, huh? It's gonna be like that. You're gonna try to freak me, huh? Is this what the fuck we're gonna do? I don't play that game, you know what I'm saying? So I started exercising way to the right side away from him, just kind of keeping my eye on him the entire time. I swear to fuck, if he tried moving in my direction, I would have beat the fucking shit out of him. Like, I'm ready for that to happen at any moment. So, like, I'm usually, when stuff starts to tickle my, this doesn't feel right, I'm on high alert. I'm looking at everything. I'm watching movement, getting ready to, like, if, like, this person turns around and comes at me, I'm fucking striking, I'm usually, like, ready to fucking blast off at any moment. So I would like to think that in this moment, I would understand, like, I'm not playing this game. Like, I would believe that the gun was real, sure. But like this, the second he just like puts like duct tape, or he starts to go put duct tape over my eyes, I'm sure he's not trying to one-hand it. If he starts to go like two-hand it, even with a gun, like, I know that in that situation, well, I mean, I guess it was face down on the ground and whatnot, but like, I know in that situation, like, here's my chance, like, because otherwise I'm gonna die. You know what I mean? So I would make a fight for it. I might die right then and there, but I'm gonna make a fight for it. And the second I feel that that gun is fake, like, oh hell no, oh hell no, dog. It was like, this is a fake ass gun. You better believe I am going to ruin you or die trying. Like, I'm gonna be like bashing you everywhere in the face. I'm gonna be fucking ripping at your eyes. I'm gonna be fucking grab your nuts and pop in my fucking hands. I will fucking rip parts of your flesh apart. I will fight like a fucking beast to the very end if I have to. I fight dirty and I fight like a fucking cornered animal when you challenge me. Not that I've ever done it before, but I truly believe that I have it in me. So in that situation where he's like, no, I'm not going to do this. Kick your knees, pussy. I'm like, really, bro? I don't know if it's because I'm American, so therefore I'm just inherently psychotic. And I think this way because I live in a dangerous land where there's a lot of psychopaths. And in Canada, you just don't think this way because people leave their doors unlocked because they feel that safe. And maybe that's just a huge cultural difference. I don't fucking know. But like, in America, I don't fuck around. So just seeing these people in Canada is just like, well, I don't want to be rude. I'll just kick him in the shin. Maybe he'll get the point. Bro. And other dudes so desperate for pussy that some creepy looking motherfuckers is like, oh, hey. Oh, yeah, no, I rent this place from her. Like, oh, she ain't ready. I'll take you there personally. if you're not just like, yeah, no, fuck this. Like, sorry, man, you deserve that L. You took an L to life, and no one could be that desperate for pussy, dude. Like, it's, mm-mm, 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 mm-mm. The fuck's wrong with you, dude? That's all I'm saying. Whew. Why are these always getting me so fired up? It's just because people are so stupid. And it just gets me so mad. Yeah. So, long story short, another lesson we can learn is you just, in life or death situations, you can't be nice and polite. Like, you gotta be an absolute, unstoppable, undeadable animal. Go for the throat. Rip it out with your teeth if you have to. Do what you gotta do. Excuse you? Oh, you're over here. Hi, baby. You wanna come say hi to people? Okay. Yeah, so that's a lesson we can learn here today. So, thank you so very much for joining me here today. I'm so just not having it. Is there something you want to say to the people? They're listening. You can. No? No? Okay. Alright, guys. Thank you for joining me. I will see you all next time.